Now, I'm just gonna sit back in my chair and let you guys
Let me posture out really quick. Hold on.
talk about the shit show that was Sunday Night Football last night. So take it away, boys.
All right, Kurt, who do you?
No,
there's
what's
not
your
much to
question?
talk about.
What's your question?
I don't have any questions.
Oh.
I just have this to say. I'll go on a little bit of rant, and then you can say whatever you want to say.
Fair enough.
Let me preface it with this. If you're watching on the YouTube, I'm sure we might upload this segment to the YouTube or whatever it is. I got a Giants little that's a blanket hanging up over my window to stop the light from coming in. I'm a Giants fan. That's, I've been a Giants fan all my life, enjoyed 2 Super Bowls. We've been great. Now we're horrible, last 5 years. But I will say this, and, people are, obviously we're talking about the Eagles and the Washington football team debacle. And I will say, Kurt's obviously a Washington fan, and Washington did absolutely nothing wrong in this scenario. If anyone's slandering, no one's slandering Washington for a reason. They did absolutely nothing wrong. No one should say anything about Washington. It's solely the Eagles. And I know a lot of people are bringing up this point where they're saying you shouldn't be slandering the Eagles. You should be winning your own games instead of going 6-10 and losing. You shouldn't be winning a division and getting a playoff spot at 6-10 regardless. I mean, 8-8 is pretty ugly when you make the playoffs, and Washington made it 7-9. So, yeah, it's bad. And I know Giants fans, the team shouldn't be relying on Washington to win this game. But at the same time, our head coach, Joe Judge, said it best. He said, you have a moral obligation, a moral duty to go out there and play 60 minutes of football to try and win. We said the same thing for the Jets. It's the players, they work hard. The coaches, they work hard. You should not be throwing a football game, whether you think it was, on purpose or not. Here's the reason why I think it was on purpose. Not only do you have players from the Eagles like Jason Kelce making speeches about how winning is important, you want to build a winning culture. He'll never be a player that's going to sit down and die like a dog on the ground. And that's exactly what they did. They pulled Jalen Hurts, who is their immediate future, even if you don't think he's their long-term answer at quarterback, which is totally understandable. He's played pretty good this year, and he's definitely going to be the starter going into next year unless something crazy happens. So to take him out in a game that is a divisional game, yes, it doesn't technically mean anything, and they do get a slightly better draft position, but I'll talk about that. He's your immediate future. You want to see if he can win this big game against a huge division rival. And, maybe they hate the Giants, but making it so the other team in your division doesn't make the playoffs, that should be just as good as allowing another team in your division making the playoffs. They pulled Jalen Hurts, who wasn't having a great game. They put in Zach Sudfeld, who looks like he never held a football in his life. Nate. Excuse me. I don't even know his name.
There's no difference.
Yeah,
Just
disrespect intended. Sudfeld looks like he's never held a football in his life. And you know what Peterson says after the game? They say, oh, why would you make that decision? Of course, Peterson's going to go, oh, I thought that was the decision I made to win the game, which is absolutely insane. But, he added his own little second part, and he said, Sudfeld's been here for a long time, and I thought he deserved some snaps. Is that – what are we playing, varsity basketball, and you got to get the team captain, or the team manager that's been with the team for 3 years? You got to throw him on the court in the last game so he can try to hoist a 3 up. This is the National Football League. I don't care if your game doesn't mean anything. I don't care if you're going to get a spot if you're going to go from pick 9 to 6. Here's the thing: your GM sucks. The last Pro Bowler you drafted was Carson Wentz 5 years ago. You gave him $110 million to have him sit on the sideline in civilian clothing. Okay. Are you kidding me? If you're going to pull Hurts, at least put in the guy you're paying $110 million to. I don't care what your relationship is. It's absolutely ridiculous. People are saying they don't want to make the Eagles look bad. What does that even mean? You have a former MVP candidate on your sideline that, he used to be very, very good. He had a very bad year this year. But if you're going to pull Hurts out, you can't put in someone like Sudfeld when you have Wentz sitting on the bench in sweatpants. It is just so obvious that you're not trying to win. It's ridiculous. You think the Eagles fans no, we went from pick 9 to 6. Good job, man. I'm sure you're going to draft a Pro Bowler this year. It's only been 5 years. You're going to get it right this time. It's so ridiculous, and all these people are saying that the salty Giants fans need to shut up because they should win more than 6 games and they can actually make the playoffs if they win, which is 100% true. When I say the Eagles have the obligation to the NFL to not blatantly tank a football game and be competitive for the entire time, it has nothing to do with the Giants. If I was a Jets fan, if I was a Chiefs fan, whatever it was, if I cared about the NFL and the way, like, wanting it to be competitive, which it should be, I would have the same issue with this. And it's ridiculous. And I think Peterson should be fired, on top of the reason because he's not that good of a coach. He's done very bad this year. Obviously, they've had a ton of injuries, and they were injured in this game specifically too. I understand that. But Peterson has not been good this year. He wasn't great last year. And I think this is the icing on the cake, especially when he says Sudfeld's been here for a while. I think he deserves some snaps. There's the clip of Hurts on the sideline saying it's not right. Listen, I don't want to jump to conclusions saying that literally could be about anything. Someone could have, like, spilled his apple cider and he's like, that's not right, man. I have no idea what that was about. But at the same time, it's kind of likely that that's what it was about, because he's a young QB. He wants to prove himself in this league. You want to get him the most amount of snaps possible, and you take him out in a game that's 17-14, not to mention that there was 2 minutes left. It was 3rd and 5 or 3rd and 4, whatever it was, and they jumped off sides. I mean, listen, I'm sure that was just a mistake and they didn't mean to do that, but there was just so many instances of them just playing so bad to the fact that, like, it looked like it was on purpose. I mean, Sudfeld comes into the game and throws a horrible, horrible interception. The guy looks like he hasn't played in years, which he hasn't. That's why he's a backup. And that's all I got to say about that. Once again, it has nothing to do with me. I mean, the reason why I'm so passionate about it is probably because I'm a Giants fan, but at the same time, the things that are coming out of my mouth right now, the message I'm trying to portray is the fact that Joe Judge said it. Yes, he's the head coach of the Giants, and he has every reason to be upset. But he said, as long as I'm the coach of the Giants, you're never going to see me take out the person who I think gives me the best chance to win in a football game just because it's going to let someone else get in, or I can't make the playoffs. It doesn't matter. We talked about it with the Jets. If you try to win every single game that you're playing, you do it for the players. And all the Giants players were tweeting and they were upset. I can't believe Hurts is on the bench. And Eli Manning, Saquon tweeted something about the Eagles. He's like, I can't believe this is happening. Eli Manning quoted it, said, this is why we hate the Eagles. And Fletcher Cox responded to Eli and he said, we hate you too, with a smiley face. You just lost the game. You lost. Now you're going over here tweeting at people with smiley faces. Like, it's like I don't know. Like, maybe they did want to lose. If the players wanted to lose, then it's a different story. But I guarantee if you ask, all the Eagles players did not want to lose. Ertz and many other Eagles players were at the field until 1 a.m. because he knows he's probably not going to get signed. He's probably going to get cut or traded, whatever it is, because they don't have the money. And he knows how much that the season means a lot to him. And to just say that you didn't try to win, even though Hurts wasn't playing well, pretty fucking ridiculous in my point. But congrats to the NFC East champions, the Washington football team. I mean, you guys earned it because they have a great defense all year, and the offense has definitely been up and down. But at the same time, they've been through 4 quarterbacks, new coach who overcame cancer. He's done incredible things this year. So they've fought more adversity than the Giants did, and the Giants ended up not making the playoffs because they didn't win enough games, not because the Eagles tanked. But regardless, my point still stands, and I rest my case.
Holy shit. I have a lot to say about – that was great, by the way. I enjoyed that.
Thank you.
I do have a lot to say, and I know we heard this, Sully, how we, like, never agree or disagree on anything. And for the most part, basically all of it I'm going to agree. But if there's going to be a couple of things maybe I disagree on, but I'll get to that in kind of my whole rant or speech, whatever you want to say. So first off, I've been saying this since the life of day, even since last year. I hate when teams lose to get a better draft pick. I hate it more than anything. And that was even a thing last year when Washington was terrible, because guess what? I experienced it firsthand. Because when we're playing the Giants in week 16, we're playing the Eagles in week 15, we're playing the Cowboys in week 17 last year. Those are division games I want to win. I want to see, obviously it didn't work out, but I wanted to see Haskins improve, and I wanted to see the whole team be better and win the game. So even last year, I had so many Washington fans say, oh, I really hope we lose this game. What kind of an attitude is that? What kind of attitude is I want to see my team lose? I don't care if you, even if you're the, I'm sorry. I get maybe the Jets with Trevor Lawrence because Trevor's this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Even still, I want to go into this game seeing a win because like we've talked about time in and time out, these players work so hard day in and day out to get a win, to get a single win. That's what they're playing for, and that's their motivation for the whole year. And I think someone, I can't remember who, said it best. They said, I would think that players who aren't, are having this losing season, having 0 wins, 1 win, would want to be extra motivated because their job is on the line. Obviously, if they're experiencing these 0 to 1 wins, they're going to fight and they're going to compete so they can be on the roster next year. So I've always hated the whole, get a better draft pick. And if that's what Philadelphia was doing last year, it's sorry. And you even said it best from Jim Schwartz, their defense coordinator. He said, our motivation is knocking Washington out of the playoffs on our home ground. That would be my motivation. If I was in the Phillies situation, I would love to see Washington get out of the playoffs because of what we did. And it's just insane because you look at the whole game and look, I understand because some people make this comparison. It's like, oh, well, you see, Kansas City, you see these playoff teams rest their players. How's it any different? They're resting them because they're going to be in the playoffs. What does Philadelphia have to lose? Literally nothing. They have nothing to lose. And that's why at the time I kind of understood. I was like, I get the whole Jalen Hurts getting benched because it's like you see what he's going to get you guys. Like, and what's the point of really like seeing if he gets hurt? But at the same time, I kind of thought about it and I'm like, well, if I've been kind of having this whole motivation of play your best team possible, try and win every game, then I can't have two sides to the story. I have to be consistent in kind of what I say. So I was like, you know what? That's kind of wrong. Philadelphia needs to play their best team possible. I understand, like, it was Miles Sanders who was questionable, and if you want to just not risk him to get a worse injury. But if you have a healthy roster, play him the whole game and seeing if you can beat Washington, because beating Washington, knocking him out of the playoffs, is enough motivation for me to get up and get ready for that day. And we've seen time in and time out from players in the NFL say what their motivation is when they're not good late in the season. And we saw that from Jason Kelce, and we saw that from, J.J. Watt. We've seen that from other players, and it just should continue on for Week 17. Nate Sudfeld also, he was drafted by the Redskins, so I don't want to see any Nate Sudfeld disrespect because I drafted him in the 6th round, so I've always loved him. He was like a fan favorite here in DC, and obviously like yesterday was the one day like people actually knew of him nationwide, and I'm like, oh, I hope he doesn't do well, but I've always respected the man. Gosh, he's got a negative response, and for obvious reasons. I mean, I think it's fine. He didn't play well whatsoever. That's kind of really all I have to say. I'm trying to think of anything else I have on my mind before we change topics. But I thank you, Sully, for saying Washington did nothing wrong, because I've seen so many comments that are like, oh, I mean, it's coming from Giants fans, not to single you out specifically, Sully, but it's like, oh, I mean, you guys are just effing terrible. You're going to lose in the 1st round. I mean, how could you let a unmotivated Philly team beat you guys, or almost beat you guys? The win was not deserved. We did nothing wrong, regardless if we didn't play well or not, because Ron Rivera stated multiple times he's pissed off by the performance, and we thought we played terrible for obvious reasons. Offensively, that was one of the worst games we've ever played all year. Defensively, I mean, we're a top 3 defense in the league now. But it's like, makes me so upset when people want to say Washington's not blaming any fault, because even if we played bad, what did you want us to do? I mean, we did nothing wrong.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep my part very, 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 very short, because you guys have gone over everything perfectly and all that. Not to get too much into draft talk, but Sully kind of brought it up. They did play for a better draft pick. That's pretty obvious. And I think once Howie Roseman and Doug Peterson got assurance last week that their jobs were safe, I think they're like, all right, shit, let's get in a better spot to get a quarterback. And I think they're going to be a prime quarterback team to move up to number 3 with Miami. I'm just going to put that out there because that's just how I feel. Because I don't think they have faith in Jalen Hurts as a long-term answer. And I don't think with their jobs being on the line that they are willing to put all their stock in Jalen Hurts with how much roster turnover there's going to be. Because they know their roster is probably going to suck next year because they're going to have to cut so many people because of their cap situation. They're going to have to cut a ton of this roster. And I don't think they want to put all their chips in on a player that they're not so sure of. And they'd rather just go all in on one quarterback and have that as like their sticking point for their jobs. That's just kind of how I'm feeling right now with the Eagles situation. But it's still a joke that Doug Peterson hasn't been fired. He's been atrocious all year, and there's no reason he should be still here.